Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping you can actually see me. We just had a bit of a technical problem. I think it's all that hot weather and everything else. On the comments, before I get going, what would be really, really useful for us is if someone on the comments can let us know if you can see us going out, and then we'll start talking to you guys. So just on the comments, so someone can say whether you can see and hear us. Apologies for this. We're used to running on Zoom rather than Facebook Live, so we want to make sure that we're getting it right before we start talking.
And there is my empty chair, so we are going to be talking on my empty chair.
There will be a second. John's sitting here as soon as someone can confirm that you're seeing us. We're all right, John.
I can see you, John. Thank you, Shell. Can you hear us okay?
As long as you can hear us, then we'll get started. We can fill this chair.
Yeah. It's all good.
Right, excellent.
Can they hear us though? Yeah, thumbs up. So
Okay, right, excellent.
Right, there you go.
Right, you're going to start off, John?
Why are we here tonight? Why are we here on a sunny, hot afternoon? First of all, apologies, we weren't supposed to start the week last week, but something happened last Sunday, some football match, and apparently no one's going to be watching.
No.
And now everyone's gone to the coast. It's even worse. It's about 90 degrees out there. It's not much warmer in its office, isn't it? As you know, this is the end of the week for the Safeguarding Board, which is Southend, Thurrock and Essex, and they're running this campaign all week. They run it 4 times a year. I'll go over what's happened all week, and at the end of the presentation, we will show you a slide where you can still access it. So if you have missed some of the material that they put online, and there's quite a lot, then obviously you can go back and have a look. So I think I'll run through that. Well, you tell them who we are first, John, and I'll put the slide up. So, yeah.
I'm hoping most of you know us. We are the two Johns. Obviously, I'm John Woodley. That's John Stage. We're here tonight essentially for a question and answer session. What we're going to do right at the beginning, we'll just give a brief chat about something to do with gaming that we just want to make sure that everyone's familiar with. And then while I'm doing that, perhaps if you've got any questions for us, if you ask us a question, the way that it will work is John will see them coming in on the live stream, hopefully. John will chuck them at me, and then I'll try and answer it. So very much on the spot. If you've seen us recently talking, this is a bit unusual for us because we're normally sitting there. I'm normally sitting here. John's sitting the other side of the room, and it feels a little bit weird having him this close to me.
But we have been tested and we are negative, aren't we? So,
yes, we are.
So it's
but, okay. As John said, we're here on behalf of Southend, Essex and Thurrock Safeguarding Children's Boards. It's been a really excellent week. Lots of stuff going out there. And I think, as John touched on, we've done quite a lot of podcasts, have others that will be useful to watch. So at the end, we'll make sure that you know where to go for that. But I guess I want to start.
Oh, I just put a slide up, John. I'm just going to overview the whole week, if that's all right. The slide on the screen you can see, and I'll go and turn off, and John will start with where we're going to go, and I'll disappear for a second. On Monday, there was an overview of children's internet use, which is really, the whole week starts a journey, doesn't it, really, from birth to teenage years, and so we know what they're doing. So the first day was an overview of children's internet use, outline the themes of what's going to happen all week. There's a podcast from me and John that starts the week talking about the journey, isn't it? Tuesday was preschoolers, messages about party and the protection of young people. So we're talking reception, infants, and just before. Again, there's another podcast of how we sort of would start the journey ourselves and with our children, which we've done. Wednesday was pre-teens. That's challenging the use between 8 to 12-year-olds, healthy relationships, sex education. That was a podcast by the Children's Society, as you can see on the screen. And there's some great stuff on there exploring that. And there was a smartphone Brook Live session event at 6 p.m. And I believe that's been recorded. So again, will be available on the site. Thursday was teens, info criminal exploitation. So we're looking at money mules, safe live streaming again, consent, and building up the picture, if that makes sense. I think you can see it on the screen anyway. Podcast by Essex Child and Family Wellbeing Service. Friday, we talked about gaming. And again, there was a podcast by the Violence and Vulnerability Unit in Essex Police and the joint services they run. There's a whole team, not just Essex Police, there's a team of people made up of different people to talk about that. Youth involved sexual imagery, sending nude pictures out Saturdays. And then today, you've got dilemmas for parents and peers, talking about everything else on today's stuff on the website. And at the end, I'll show you a link where you can see all this stuff to go back and visit it. But in the meantime, John, I'll hand over to you. You can start the session about gaming and how we do gaming, I suppose. And I'll take that slide.
Yeah, I think it's true to say that every day we're working with children all the way through the pandemic. I think for the last week, for example, we've spoke to well over 1,000 young people. That's included a couple of secondary schools, loads of primary schools, and what we're picking up on the ground is what's actually happening. And we know when we do these events, people normally ask quite a lot of questions about games. So we thought, while we're waiting for you guys to chuck questions at us, we just pick up on where we think the issues are. Because if kids are being exploited in games, that's normally on the basis that they're mass multiplayer games. And a lot of parents turn around to their children and say, I'm going to let you play Smash multiplayer game, but you're not allowed to talk to anyone. And we're a bit worried about that, because that's a bit like saying to your kid, you can go over to the park and play football, but hand me the ball. And obviously that's not going to work very well. The kids will still go over to the park, find someone else to play football with, and it all starts to go a bit wrong. But to understand the actual problem, a lot of the time, it isn't within the game itself. Most of the really popular games and platforms, like the Xbox is a good example, Roblox is a good example, the actual in-game chat features are sort of industry leading. So they've got algorithms running in their chat that's designed to spot sort of bad guys. So what we're realizing is a lot of the bad people, even though they're meeting our kids in games, they want to get them out of the games. And that's what we want to get you guys thinking about. So we're generally saying there's 3 steps involved if someone is going to abuse your kid through games. And I can't think of many situations where these 3 steps don't exist. Step 1 is always going to be getting your kid to like them. That is crazy simple in the world of gaming. All you've actually got to do is give the kid something that generally costs money in a game. In something simple like Roblox, it might be gifting them a super cool pet in the game, and then the kid's like, oh wow, they're like really impressed. That's step 1, as simple as that. Step 2, they need to get the kid out of the game chat into third-party chat apps. And what we're realizing across the board is probably the most popular one of those is an app called Discord. This is scaring us a bit, mainly on the basis that at least 70% of the children from year 5 and above seem to know all about Discord. And we're working in a massive secondary school on Thursday. I don't think there was a kid there who didn't know about Discord. But when we talk to parents every night, we're running at an average of about 12 to 20% know what Discord is. So we want to upskill you a bit tonight, because if your kid is coming unstuck, that's probably where it's going to happen. And Discord is set up in a way that it's basically a server dedicated to particular games. Every major game that you can download at the moment has an associated Discord channel. That means that within the game, say it's Fortnite, within Fortnite itself, it'll have like a community link. If you hit the community link, what it will do is give you a string of code, if I call it that. It's like a web address that you then cut and paste into Discord. So if you're running Discord, then you'll automatically join the group. If you're not running Discord and you've never heard of Discord before, say you're an 8 or a 9-year-old playing Minecraft, and you see a little character sitting there, that will normally be something like, it'll say tap to talk. The kids think, what's that? They press this little button, and literally all that's doing is automating the visit to the Discord website, where if you haven't got it, it will prompt you to sign up to it, either by downloading an app and or sign up to Discord, and then it takes you into the dedicated server for the game. I think that sounds like real complicated adult language. All we're really talking about here is a dedicated chat room for the game. So for example, take Fortnite. If I say Discord server for Fortnite, I think a lot of parents think, whoa, server, that sounds really confusing. Let's think of it as a big chat room dedicated to Fortnite. So as you can imagine, kids are going to love that chat room. And when they go in there, indeed, they can chat to other players of Fortnite. Obviously, that could include a dodgy person. And let's say they talk to someone who actually is a predator, but they don't realise it. So the kid will be chatting to them in Fortnite. This person will turn around and say, oh, have you seen that new feature on the map? And the kid will turn around and say, I don't know where to find that. And the other guy will say, I'll tell you what, why don't we play a game together? We could jump on the map and I'll show you exactly where it is. And this is where a kid will often turn around and say, I would love to do that, but my parents are really strict. They're in control of my Xbox. So when I play Fortnite on my Xbox, I won't be able to add you as a friend, because I'm only allowed to add people as friends that I know in real life. So therefore, I won't be able to invite you to a party and we won't be able to talk on the headset. That person turns around and says, don't you worry about that. What I'll do, I'll send you a link to my Discord channel and then we'll be able to chat. So they do exactly that. And then what you're looking at as a parent is your kid at home on the Xbox. As you would expect, Fortnite is on the TV, as you would expect, because the headset on, and as you would expect, they're chatting. But what you're probably expecting is they're chatting to people they're friends with on the Xbox that you already know about. What they've actually done is connected their headset to their phone is running Discord, and they're actually talking to the stranger they met on Discord. And then just to make it a little bit scarier, what's going to happen next is you're probably going to take them off the game at about 7 o'clock in the evening, because that's when the gaming time ends, screen time ends, and everything else. And the kid goes upstairs. We've said to thousands of kids, why should parents be worried at that stage? And they look at you with total confidence and say, because when you go upstairs, you're still talking to the person on Discord. And essentially, that is where it's playing out. So step 2 was taking them into third-party chat, and this is a perfect example of that, Discord. Step 3, once they like someone on Discord and they're chatting to them all the time, all the bad guys waiting for now is a photo. Now, you might sit there and go, we mean a photo of them. Well, it doesn't have to be that. If your kid wins one of their games and they start bragging about it over Discord to their new friends, and their new friend's going to turn around and say, no way did you do that. I don't believe you won a battle royale. What the kid's going to do is take a screenshot and send it to them. That's the moment in time where, if we're unlucky, the bad guy will geolocate that picture, work out where the kid lives, and then essentially start to blackmail them. So we think this is really important to put this across, because I think so many parents are worried about the game itself. They don't look outside the box, which is actually where it's playing out. And then perhaps you've got the other issue. We really do make it an us and them. So we're trying to put controls in, kids are trying to get around them. And one of the big ones is, do we let our kids become friends with people they meet in games online? And I think the general default is, no, we don't. But is that right? If you've got a 13-year-old son, they're playing with a 13-year-old in a game and they end up really sort of friendly with them, is it right to say they shouldn't be able to have that as a friendship in real life? Because if we have a rule where that ain't possible, we're telling you now, the kid will make it possible, and they may then meet covertly behind your back. You are far better off putting a rule down. So look, if you want to be friends with someone in your game, you can, but there's 3 rules to follow. Those 3 rules, in our opinion, should be: number 1, they tell you, the parent, about the friendship. Absolutely, yeah. So number 1, they tell you about the friendship. Number 2, and some of you might be uncomfortable with this, but they need to do a video call with the person they want to be friends with. So if this is a 13-year-old boy talking to a 13-year-old boy, your total expectation is that the person in that video call looks like a 13-year-old boy. Hope that's making sense. And what we're saying to children is there is no acceptable excuse for that not happening. So if the person gives you an excuse, the webcam's broken, they just had an accident, they've got a bad scar, whatever rubbish they come up with is unacceptable. Okay, so there is no acceptable excuse. And then the last bit is make it real. What that means is make sure when the kid looks at that person live in the video call, that it is in fact live and they're not being fed a video, which can happen. And to make it real, and that sounds daft, like we're real at the moment. And if you wanted to make us real, you'd have to ask us to do something that I could do. So for example, you would say, put your hand on your head. And I put my hand on my head, put your finger on your nose. All I would say is, please don't use hold up 3 fingers. And that sounds daft, but everyone says hold up 3 fingers. And what the bad guys have done, they're so confident that that's going to be the question, they're actually editing videos with 3 fingers being held up. So I guess what we're saying is think outside of that and ask some question. It might be what's the time at the moment. Obviously, you can't fake that, and that's what we would do. So gaming, to us, it's not about the game itself. In fact, it's never about the game itself. It's always about other stuff. You right, John?
Yeah, I'm back now. I'm back. I have to change the slides. I've come back. Got a couple of questions then. So
Okay, go on.
I think someone couldn't get the name, but someone's answered it and said Discord.
Yeah, it's Discord. Yeah.
So Discord, Discord. It's one of many chat servers, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah, there's loads of others that you could use. I mean, we're talking about Discord, even on a basic level, it might be FaceTime. So,
yeah. There's quite a few out there. Someone asked, what is a chat room then? How would you best way to describe a chat room?
Best way to describe a chat room. I mean, what we're doing here, I guess that's my fault, isn't it? So I'm trying to describe a server as a chat room. If we really drilled into this, a chat room is a place where you go to talk to numerous other people. Some people might know it as a forum, for example. That means that you go into a chat room, you sign up to it, and then there'll be 10 strangers in there. And then what the 10 strangers do is all talk with each other. Like I'm a massive gamer, and when I play my game, it's got a rolling chat room all the time. So what it means is while I'm playing the game, on the side, you've got interactions. Like what you're looking at on your screen at the moment might be a load of comments coming in on the screen, and that is sort of replicating exactly what happens in the chat room. Everyone starts talking. I don't know how to describe it, beyond
that. That's the best way. Yeah, I mean, and there is a famous case of servers being used to groom a young lad. And it happened
in Thurrock, wasn't it?
In Thurrock,
I mean, you had Brett, the young lad that was murdered in Thurrock as a result of something that is identical to the setup that we spoke to just now on Discord. That wasn't on Discord, but that was the same sort of setup, like a server-based chat room. And the problem with them is you can set up a dedicated server as a bad guy and you can restrict the membership. So if you're targeting children, you could arguably invite 6 friends onto the server and you, the bad guy, are running that server, and that becomes like an exclusive club for those 7 people who can all chat to each other, talk to each other, share things with each other, and that is a pure form chat room.
Yeah, it's a hard one with games, isn't it? And no one's asking any questions at the moment, which is good. No, so no questions is good. It could be. One of the things we do say a lot now, and it's very hard, that with our young people, and as you're all parents watching tonight, if your child has an interest as a hobby, whatever it is, from anything from football, rugby, cricket, netball, gymnastics, karate, playing the guitar, whatever their hobby is, as parents we support them. So first of all, we buy them the equipment they need. We then take them to the lessons, or we take them training, or we support them all through them enjoying the thing. And if it is a sport, we would then go and watch and participate. That's fair play, isn't it? Apart from this year at the Olympics when no visitors are allowed, but that's another story. But so we would do all that. But when it comes to gaming or anything on the internet, whether it's social media, anything really, isn't it? We take no interest, and that's the hardest thing, because we just say, well, there you go, I bought you the game, I've invested in the equipment, i.e. the PlayStation, the Xbox, whatever you bought them, you can have the game, but I'm not going to teach you how to use it, and you're not going to have no lessons in it. But you wouldn't do that with anything else in life, I think, and that's
I'll follow that at home. I've never particularly liked Minecraft, but because my 6-year-old plays Minecraft, I make it my business at least once a week to play Minecraft with him. He loves the fact that I play with him, but if I'm honest, it means I get a really good look-see at how it works, and I think that's really important.
And someone's put in that they hate Discord because basically that you can't record the conversation and chat can be deleted, and there's no policing of it. But
as a parent, Discord, if I'm honest, is your worst nightmare. If you're monitoring your kid, Discord is very, very difficult because normally kids are in several different servers, so they're not just in one chat, they're in several. So if they play 5 different games, which is highly likely, I would suggest, then each game they play will have a different Discord server. And what you realise is, it's like, for example, I was playing a game that then folded in January, and I was playing with about 20 other people. And in that game, as often happens, someone set up a Discord group. So it meant all 20 of us were in a Discord group linked to the game, and we were playing the game. When that game folded, obviously you would think that all the people playing together are no longer playing together. But what happens is, because Discord is still there, everyone over the next couple of months is chatting all the time saying, has anyone found a new game that we can play? Someone then suggests a new game, and what you find is this Discord community move into a different game. So it's really tricky. Parents are so busy looking at the games, they don't realise that Discord is like this all-encompassing sort of setup, really, where you could get a group of 10 people over a few years playing hundreds of different games together, and just moving on with each other, building that relationship. As a parent, it's pretty hard to get on top of it. That's why I don't like Discord in primary school at all, unless you are literally playing with your kid and you're on Discord with your kid. If they're on it on their own, that's not a good situation.
Yeah, and I think that term, like trying to police it, it's a bit like saying, you know, you're going to not teach your child to cross the road, but you're going to follow them down the road and then catch them running across the road and just to tell them off. But surely it's better to stop them doing that, and that's what we say about the education side of it.
Be alongside them.
If you know they're on Discord and they're the right, perhaps 13, 14, 15, and that is their gaming community and they're really good at it, as long as you know and you can point out these are the bad people, and like someone said here already, that there's a thief sat in every room, that's how it should be treated, but security-wise, someone's in every room perhaps trying to steal stuff, possibly.
Yeah.
If you know all that and you can educate your child that if someone suddenly does want their, you know, is making an offer to them, for example, if they're playing Fortnite or Roblox, say Roblox, and that's come up at just now. Instead of playing Roblox, and someone says, oh, I can give you 150,000 Robux for nothing, all you got to do is do this, then we need to educate them to not do that. And that's the secret, I think.
Discord is excellent for a teenager. We're not saying don't let them on it, but we are saying they need to know what bad looks like. What bad looks like is sending pictures normally. Yeah, don't let them send pictures. And if they want to become friends with someone over that medium, then talk to the parent. And as we said, make sure you do a video call, make sure you verify it is who you think it is. And I think that is the message that we're drumming into children all the time.
Yeah, and we had a couple of comments like that. Can this happen in Roblox? And is Roblox safe for children to play? But no, isn't it? It's good. It's being involved.
Roblox. I know it sounds crazy because in Roblox you feel a little bit safe because if your kid's 10, like my daughter's 10, she plays Roblox, but because she's 10, she can't chat in Roblox. But as a realist, I'm thinking that game is rubbish if you can't chat.
It's a mass multiplayer, isn't it?
Like the biggest game in it is called Adopt Me, and the whole point of that game is that you walk around as a parent and adopt a child, or you're a child, you adopt a parent. But in reality, that is two players in the world come together and role play mums and dads. Clearly, if that's your kid and a stranger, that's concerning. But if that's your kid and their best friend from school, then that is a good way of associating. What I do with my daughter, just as a tip really, is she is allowed to FaceTime her best friend. So they're on their iPad, they're now watching each other on FaceTime. And then what they can do while they're on FaceTime is join each other in Roblox. So they're not using Roblox chat. What they're doing is they're playing Roblox together, role playing together, but the chat element is going peer to peer over FaceTime. And that's my way of dealing with it. That said, if you were lying about your kid's age on Roblox and they were using the Roblox chat, and unfortunately a lot of kids are doing that, then if it reassures you a little bit, the chat in Roblox is really, really safe. It's moderated. If someone says something weird to a kid, it's picked up. Your worst nightmare, if I'm honest, is having a kid playing Roblox that isn't allowed to chat in any way. Because what happened, and this is what we're being told every day, in this particular game, and it's one example, if you are trying to role play with someone that can talk and you can't talk, you can still see the chat on the screen in the game. Someone's going to say, jump up and down if you can't talk. So the kid's character jumps up and down, and then what the bad guy says is, follow me to the school. And we've said to loads of kids who say, why are they after you to go to the school in the game? And right down to year 1 and 2, they turn around and say, there's a whiteboard in the classroom that you can write on the whiteboard. You're like, brilliant. Instantly getting around the chat. And if you're really unlucky, that is where the bad guy is going to take you to step 2, which means they'll put a FaceTime ID on that whiteboard and the kid will follow it. And if you think your kid wouldn't be able to do that, only 2 weeks ago, we're talking to a class of year 1 and 2 children. So correct me if I'm wrong, that's like 5 and 6 year olds. And 25% of them, about a quarter of them, said they were playing games by using FaceTime. Now, I'm hoping most of them had the parents' knowledge on that, but there was a number that weren't. So I hope that
Yeah, it's a hard one, but say if you're involved, like John said, he plays
Then
Minecraft
you'll be
half hour a
right.
week, then you understand it, and
If you understand it, then you spot bits. if I'm honest.
So yeah, I mean, we've got a few more questions
Yeah.
coming in, which is brilliant now. You've got never heard of this school before. My boys are 9. They love Roblox. Are they allowed to play? But they want to play Among Us.
Well, Among Us
and Fortnite. Is that safe for
Right.
9-year-old?
Among Us, this is a bit weird because kids are getting a bit fed up with it because they've recently changed it. Our best advice, if I'm honest, is to let them play Among Us without an account. If they play it without an account, then they can't chat in the game. Okay. If you create an account in Among Us, then it is a mass multiplayer game. So the idea is it's like a whodunit.
Yeah.
So you walk around and you have bad guys and good guys.
I think 4 and 10
Yeah.
players, don't you?
The good guys have to work out who the bad guys are because they go around bumping people off. If you think you know who the bad guy is, you call a meeting in the game. Then all the players come together in a meeting and chat, and there's your chat element. Yeah, so you've got to be talking to your kid about it. If they're playing Among Us, then the rule is going to be they never leave that game's chat. They never accept a third-party chat offer. Probably, although this will sound a bit daft, in Roblox, you've got a version of Among Us. So you can play Among Us in Roblox. And the reason we prefer that is because it's moderated chat. So if you're playing Among Us on Roblox, the chat is moderated. So if someone is being weird, it should be flagged up. The chat in Among Us is not moderated. So I'm not sure if that's helped anyone, but it is a mass multiplayer game. That's the nature of it. So it's a difficult one. On Fortnite, if they're using the chat on the Xbox and you know who the friends that they've added are, you will be fine. But again, the issue will be if they play a game with someone that unknown to you, they're chatting to over something like Discord, FaceTime, or something else. If they're playing Fortnite with their friends from school, if they're playing Fortnite with anyone, even if they're playing Fortnite with strangers, which is highly likely, that's not really a problem unless they add them as a friend. Because if they add them as a friend on the Xbox, which you will be able to see, then they invite them to a party, then they talk to them on a headset. But if they're playing with strangers, but they haven't added them as friends, they won't be able to chat to them. They will hear voices sometimes, so you might hear swearing, but that aside, you're not going to be too bad. It's a bit unrealistic to let your kid play Fortnite and say you're not allowed to play with strangers because that game becomes pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to accept that you're letting them play with strangers, but you're setting the rules about what that engagement looks like. I.e., you can't add them as a friend, and if you're playing a game with them, that's a one-off situation. Yeah, you can't then play with them again. So,
and some of the last one on Roblox, we've got a couple more coming now, but
yeah.
Someone asked, what sort of age would you recommend Roblox? I mean, we would, well, we have an age
different.
Yeah, we have an age for everything, don't we? Really?
Seriously, guys, I don't know. It depends on your kids' level and how they are and how engaged you are. If you've got a 6-year-old, then it'd be a bit silly letting a 6-year-old on it on their own. You wouldn't do that. But if you're sitting there as a parent playing the game with them, then that would be all right. But you've got to be able to trust that when you step away from it, all said, it is a mass multiplayer game.
Do they understand danger, don't it? If you say to them, if this happens, if someone asks you this, someone does this, even though you can't check, you can read this in the box and they can spot danger and they will come to you, then some 6, 7-year-old probably could handle that. And
don't accept anything super cool because that's the same as being offered a sweet outside the store. Yeah, mindful, isn't it?
So we've got another one here that says they've got a boy I'm visiting secondary school, but he's interested in GTA. What do you think of that?
Diabolical.
Yeah.
That's really unhelpful, isn't it? Grand Theft Auto is wholly unsuitable for younger people on the basis that it's full of violence, full of sex, full of swearing. It includes a strip club. You can go in there and decide to murder a prostitute. have sex with prostitutes. Every element of that game is adult in nature, and that was always the case. But now you can also play it multiplayer. So if you played it multiplayer, the whole context of the game would lead to unhealthy relationships, really.
The game, isn't it? But online.
Yeah, we really, seriously, you don't hear us say this very often, but GTA, we can't recommend that.
I mean, the problem is that when it first came out, it was a simplified game that sort of, it was always sort of nasty. It was car theft, and that was it. Hence the name of the title. But the way it's progressed, and it's like John will explain, and we always say that you no longer play these games, you are the game. And that's the biggest issue with it. So, for example, if it was like The Omen, if you watch the film The Omen, and you see Damien going around doing things, well, if that was a game, I don't know if it is or not, but if that was a game, you would be at Damien and you would be deciding what to do. And that's the worry about it. You actually forced to make decisions, though, if you're in the strip club, how to make it better if you want to murder someone. And it's
an 18 game is way worse than an 18 film.
Yes.
So if you're sitting there thinking you wouldn't let your kid watch an explicit 18 film, then that answers your question on whether they should be in GTA, because not only are they watching something inappropriate, they're making inappropriate decisions linked to the narrative as well, which is really not good.
I've got an interesting one coming in. Someone said about exploitation, grooming, radicalisation, extremism, and more associated. All these things play out in Discord rooms. Whilst they might do, I think one of the ones we know, one of the apps we always talk about now is TikTok, isn't it? Because they all play out on TikTok much more than parents, I think, are far aware of. Would you agree with that, John? I don't know if you
Well, if you want to go down the narrative of people grooming kids for reasons other than sexual exploitation, so terrorism, for example, racism, sexism, misogyny, all of that stuff at the minute is going out on TikTok in a horrendous way. I mean, we were looking at something about a month ago now where it was on TikTok Live. You had a guy sitting in a tent in Syria and he had 7 young people watching him. 3 of them were having a go at him. 4 of them were buying the narrative that this guy was selling, and it was quite clearly recruited for ISIS, as in blatantly. That's one example. Racism, we don't think the far right has ever been more popular than it is at the moment, and that is all built on the false narrative that people are putting up on TikTok. But one that's really close to our heart is the way that young people now feel about the police. And this is across the board. So if you go into a primary school at the moment and talk to a group of year 5 and 6 children and say to them, what is your view of the police at the moment? We are horrified. And we did, about a month ago, we did this sort of survey thing with them, and loads of them said they really, really dislike the police, which to us was unheard of. But we turned around and said, why don't you like the police? And all of these kids said because they shoot black people, because they murder women, because they beat people up, because they lie and
arrest the wrong people, don't they?
And arrest the wrong people. And we're like, does that mean that all these kids we were talking to have walked down Colchester High Street,
or any high street,
any high street, and seen the police officer do this stuff? No. What it means is they're telling us they've seen the evidence. Where have they seen the evidence? They've seen the evidence in videos on TikTok. And I'll give you a walkthrough of what that would look like. So say you've got 2 men. The 2 men don't like the police and they want to push that bill of hatred out there. They go down the local high street and one of them is videoing the other one. The one being videoed goes up to a police officer, spits in their face and assaults them. The police officer, as you can imagine, reacts, arrests that person. They resist arrest, more police officers turn up, they eventually overpower the guy and take him away. Within an hour, a video of that is put up on TikTok. And the question we're asking you guys is where's the context gone? If they are going to remove the context, which is spitting at the police officer, assaulting the police officer, and all you're looking at in the sterile world of TikTok is a narrative over the top of the video of a police officer taking a guy out, and then they might cut some bits out of it and then add a bit where all the other police officers get involved and go, oh my God, I can't believe it, walking down the high street, minding my own business, and this is what happened. And then remarkably, within an hour, that has attracted crazy amounts of comments, crazy amounts of shares, and that gets pushed it out there. And that's just talking about the police as the narrative. If you then say that the person being arrested had a disability, or the person being arrested was a woman, or anything else, can you see how that would further
very skewed.
distort the narrative? And we are really, really worried about this at the moment, because when we talk about e-safety, when we talk to our kids about looking after themselves, sometimes we're so transfixed on paedophiles going after them, we miss stuff that to us is actually a little bit more serious at the moment, if we're honest.
Nice one. And I just want to clear up one bit. When I mentioned about policing of discord earlier on, the comment come from a person who said basically it wasn't policing of discord, it was how the police can deal with these sort of issues and policemen in discord. And I think that would lead me into a tip we give children, because we have a big issue with bullying and cyberbullying, don't we, really? Because we label everything in this online world. Everything has to have a separate label. We don't ever get our heads around that. You know, real world, virtual world. No, it's one world. It's just the child's playing it differently to the adults, if you like. So there's no different in it. And when we talk about bullying and cyberbullying, we would say there's no difference to how bullying, full stop, just different mediums to do it over. And we have a simple message for children if they are, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, what we'll say, like, take WhatsApp as a really good example. What we now say to children is, if they're in a WhatsApp group and they witness bullying, intimidation, racial prejudice, or sexism, misogyny, we're desperately trying to get them into the habit of screen capping inappropriate behaviour, even if they're not going to do anything with it. And what we're reaching out to is the bystanders. So in any group of 10, you might have 2 bad people, one person who's taking the flak, and then loads of others that are just putting up with it. And we're trying to say to them, look, let's get in the habit of screen capturing stuff as it plays out. Because if you screen capture it, you've then got the evidence. And sometimes it's sufficient for one of them to go to the person causing the problem and say, look, you need to knock this on the head, because if you don't, then I'm going to speak up. And at the minute, because there ain't no screenshots, the person goes, go on then, speak up. They speak up, and then no one can access the WhatsApp because it's all encrypted. And ultimately, even if you did get into it, the bad guys deleted all the content. So to help the police, and you've got to give your kids advice if they're in secondary school, is try and get them in the absolute habit of every time they feel intimidated by something, threatened by something, make it an absolute second thought all the time to screen capture it, even if you never then use it. That way, we'll get over that hurdle that the police are up against, which is they try and investigate it, and they can't. And half the time, if it's on Discord or that, the police quite simply are not going to get the authorities to get into the account unless someone's been murdered, and even then they may struggle. So if your kids get in the habit of screen capturing stuff as it plays out, you'll be in a much stronger position. We would strongly recommend that.
We've got another one coming here talking about Roblox, and just going back to briefly about the chatting. And someone said my son uses house party with his friends on the laptop.
Okay.
Brilliant. As long as they lock the room.
That's it.
As long as they lock the room, that's the only key on that one would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we like House Party. House Party is a really good app to use for young people on lockdown. Even if they say you've got a whole class that's out at the minute, then House Party means that all 5 or 6 in the peer group can interact with each other. The only way that this goes wrong is where the kids forget to lock the room. If you're looking at the screen that you're looking at, right at the bottom, you've got a little padlock. As long as that's locked, then random people can't get added. If the room isn't locked, I know it sounds weird, but if someone's friends with any of them 6 people and they might be just added randomly, then they can just step into the room, which, as you can imagine, is not good. But if it's locked, they can't do it.
Can't leave your front door open, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kids come around your house to play. You wouldn't leave your door open for all the neighbours to walk in and out. You'd let them play.
House Party, make sure they lock the room, you'll be fine.
So I think someone else asked, which apps do you think are starting to become popular and you have concerns about? Well, definitely TikTok at the moment, because of what we just said. The context is missing from a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of
TikTok worries us more than it has previously. In the past, we were only worried about it because paedophiles collect kids' videos. So, I mean, we make that point straight up. If you've got a young person under 13 puts a video on TikTok, it will be collected by paedophiles. That's always bothered us. But now, this whole idea of cutting out the context and feeding people a bad narrative is really, really scary. That aside, I suppose the use of Discord is bothering us, but normally it's not really the individual apps. It's the overarching view that the kids got, and it's what we're telling the kids. If they know not to ever send a photo, if they know never to go into a third-party chat, then a lot of the time they'll be all right. All of the big companies like TikTok, like Fortnite, like Call of Duty, they do take their responsibilities more seriously than the press will have you believe. They do run loads of software on their platforms that detects badness. Most of the really bad things that happen don't happen on that platform. They happen because the kid has left the platform. And what we don't want is the kid to leave the platform because of a decision that we've made as parents. And that's what we've realised sometimes. We think we're doing the right thing. And because we've done the right thing, the kid does a workaround, and the workaround ends up being the bit that catches them out. And that's what we're really careful about.
And I mean, it just goes back to what we say. If you're involved and they can talk to you, then that's the battle, isn't it? It's communication. Communication is the secret. We have so many children, and this is a horrible bit to tell us, that they're more scared of their parents, mums and dads, carers, than they are the bad guys going after them.
Yeah, all the time.
And it shan't be like that, you know. I just realised, looking now, I'm going to put a picture on my head next time. Look, I keep reading the iPad. All you see is got my head. I'm going to put a picture up there next time. Put a little face up there, smiling face.
Just hitting there,
I'm not my head down anyway. At least I can look at the camera.
Yeah, you've got a real treat tonight. It's normally just me sitting here. I've got 2 for 1.
Someone's asked about Rocket League. Any concerns or worries with Rocket League?
Rocket League, bear in mind, the kid can play it in practice mode and no problem, but same as everything, Rocket League, when played properly, is a mass multiplayer game. And within that game, you get really cool cars and everything else. So again, what you don't want is your kid playing with a stranger and then keeping that relationship. So if your kid is playing with strangers in Rocket League, you need to be, they play with a stranger in a match, but the rule is they don't add them as a friend on the Xbox. Because as soon as they do that, you can guarantee if they've been unlucky enough to add a paedophile, the next time your kid logs into Rocket League, the person that's waiting to play a game with them is the bad guy. So although you've got to accept they will play with strangers in Rocket League, don't let them keep a relationship. So the rule is, yeah, you can play with these people, but you can't add them as a friend. And
if you don't want to add them as a friend, go back to the steps we said earlier on.
Yeah, which was video call and
make it real
at the beginning.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, we summarised this with mass multiplayer games, and I'll say John's bit, you know, said a bit, but the mass multiplayer game is like saying to your son or daughter, saying to you, I'm going over to the park to play football. And you say, yes, that's not a problem. Go play football. Yeah. However, leave your ball behind. They go, what? How'd you do that? But they still go over the park. I can guarantee you, we've done it as young people, and you probably may have done it yourself. You go over the park, you see another group of people playing football, and you hang around by the goal. And as soon as the ball comes your way because it goes past, you pick it up, you kick it back. And then they say, do you want to play with us? That's what happens, isn't it? So, and that's what they're doing in games. So, you know, it's no different to the world of what we're doing here. So, TikTok, you're right. We talked about TikTok. There is a sort of safe-ish way of doing it. And something else, we can explain how you set up parental control.
TikTok, probably our way of doing it. If a kid is at the younger end of the scale, that means under 14, then we would set up 2 accounts. You'd have the kids account and you'd have the parents account. I know it sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? So we are assuming here, say you've got a year 7 kid with TikTok on their device. What you would do as the parent is download TikTok on your device. So if you can visualize this now, you've got 2 phones both running TikTok.
Me and you, yeah.
So
can I be dad?
You've got to be dad, haven't you?
Yeah, true. I've got a bad haircut.
Haircut?
One with a hole in the middle.
Wishful thinking.
One with a hole in the middle, that's the haircut.
Anyway, you've got basically on the parents' TikTok account, go. Well, here we go. You started buffooning around now. Right, so you go to the main screen on TikTok. Trust me, you'll find it. At the bottom, you've got a little button that says me, you, whatever. You've got a little button that says me. You hit. You're on tonight. You hit the button at the bottom. That will open up a screen. At the top, you've got 3 dots. So remember, on the front page, you press the me button, 3 dots. You get a boring page,
really long page,
but halfway down is the bit you're looking for, which is family pairing. So halfway down, family pairing. Don't you remember that, guys? Family pairing. Hit that, you get a blue and a red option. I believe the blue option says parent.
It does.
Click that and it will give you a QR code. Hold that full. You've got a QR code, okay? You now repeat the process on the kid's TikTok account on their device, all the way through to family pairing. This time you're going to go for a red option that says teen. I hope you get this. And when you click on that, you're going to get a camera effect. So hopefully what you've now got on your device, you've got a QR code. On their device, you've got the camera effect. Point them at each other. And then what you do on the parents' account is you've now got control of the kids' one. Passcode protects it, and then whatever settings you put in place will marry over to the other device. But what we would say is you've got a bit on there that lets you look at the history
Really good.
of what the kid's looking at. And if you're going to do this, we wouldn't do it behind your kid's back. And personally, my rule would be to the kid, if you see bad content, which they will, for example, someone committing suicide, and we're not making this up, every kid seems to have seen this sort of stuff, then what you want them to do is tell you about it. And as long as they tell you about it, you're going to be all right. If they don't tell you about it, then you're going to raise it as an issue with them. And you can see that on the history. So if you're seeing on the history a video of someone committing suicide, then obviously you're going to talk to your kid about it. And if they haven't told you that they saw it, that might be an indication that the kid isn't ready for TikTok. You want it to be a matter of trust. Yeah, they see something dodgy, they tell you about it, and you want to see evidence of them talking to you. And that's what marrying the two together lets you do. But don't do it covertly. Make sure you are doing it over.
We would say about anything you do, always above board. But the only thing to remember is when you set it up, say if they are in year 7, time year 8 comes, you've got to release a few more restrictions.
Yeah, you're gradually letting it out, and at some stage you've got to do what's right, and that is like, you know, our job here is done. The kids put their head around it. If they're really worried, they'll talk to me about it. Move away from it. Yeah. If you're still surveilling them at 15, then something's gone fundamentally wrong, we would suggest.
Can you add more than one teen to family parent on TikTok?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure, because like,
I mean, you can, because they've got their own accounts, don't they? I'm sure you could.
yeah, of course you could.
If they're, because you're linking their account.
Yes.
If they've got their own
You
account,
absolutely could.
you should be able to. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, we think. In fact, we're sure you can.
I'm sure you can. So I know that's what my daughter's done. And my grandson said they're both. She's got control of both their accounts, and again at different ages, so they've got different, steps on them.
And they're all going to be linked to the same QR code.
Yeah,
Like it. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you can. If you find out differently,
Let us know.
But I'm not 100% sure on that one. Is Clash Royale okay? Is the chat moderated?
And what Clash Royale are we talking about? Are we? Because there's loads of different Clash Royales. But normally, in most Clash Royales are, as you know, by definition, multiplayer games, and we would apply the same. It depends on what device they're playing on a lot of the time, but we'd run the same rules. If you're talking to people in a Clash Royale, then don't retain them as a friend. And it always goes back to that. If kids are playing a multiplayer game, you're going to have to accept they are going to play with strangers. If you can't accept that, then we're not getting anywhere, yeah? They are going to play with strangers. What you don't want them to do is play with them again. Does that make sense? Yeah, you don't want them to form a relationship. If they do, you've got to know about it. That's really, really, really important.
Someone asked about, they didn't quite catch all the bit about the family pairing. Is that on our website? I think it is on our website, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
If you go on
we'll put that up at the end.
We'll put our website up at the end. If you go on the parent carer section on our website, go into the main page. There's a link for social media, and it's got a really good. It's got a lot of information about TikTok and how to do that.
So we use kids YouTube instead of YouTube. I prefer this as a cannot subscribe or chat.
Absolutely.
But do you know of any issues with this?
Oh, I love kids YouTube genuinely. Having two youngsters, a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, as well as a teenager, they use kids YouTube. My boy, who's 6, is on the toughest settings on kids YouTube. That means educational only. My 10-year-old is on the loosest settings, which means she can search for whatever she wants. And the only thing protecting her is the algorithm on kids YouTube, but it is pretty damn good. If your kids are on kids YouTube, you have nothing to worry about, seriously. And that is a great way to gradually introduce them to YouTube. My 10-year-old now, if she wants to watch something on YouTube proper, she can do, but only if she asks me about it first. And you might not believe me, but I'm absolutely good for that on my kid's life. Yeah, if she wants to watch something on normal YouTube, she tells me about it, I have a look at it, and then it's a yes or no. But kids YouTube, there are no problems with it. And the good thing about that is you can set it up with as many kids as you've got. If you've got a smart TV, you can download kids YouTube as an app, but when you set it up, you'll need to have it on a device as well to marry the two together. But you can set it up on a
It's a
smart
great
TV.
app for actually nurturing, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the kids.
We really like kids YouTube.
You can let the rope out, as like John, we keep saying.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's brilliant for that, isn't it?
You've got 4 different levels, so all I would say is make sure that you're stepping through them. I think when my daughter hit 9, she was a bit upset that she was still restricted as a 7-year-old, and I've got her point and changed it.
Yeah, that's the secret of, isn't it? It's what it's all about. I'm looking through here. We've got kids YouTube. We are running out of questions at the moment, so I've lost a couple of questions. So if we haven't answered your question, please resubmit it. I think we don't know that there, but that's what it is all about. This nurturing. It's a one-step process, isn't it? Like you do everything else. Communication and nurture them, and you won't have a problem, I think. So the one thing I did want us to mention this week, if you do go onto the website of the Safeguarding Board and you see all the different days and look at some of the material on there, and there is some great material on there.
Really?
You don't get to see us again, you only get to hear us, lucky.
Oh, yeah.
It's only podcasts, they're not videos. But all I would say, if you have visited it, and we're going to put a slide and finish with the slide when we finish with the link. They're doing a survey because they run this 4 times a year. There's a lot of agencies involved. There's a lot of time goes into it and a lot of hours. And they obviously want to know, is it worth us keep doing? So they run it now at the beginning of summer. We'll run it near Halloween, in October, half term, Christmas, and then at Easter again. It runs every sort of 3 months. And we change it all, and it's very relevant. I mean, last year at Halloween, didn't we do a podcast about that?
That's important to us personally, because we're giving our time tonight, and obviously, if you're sitting there thinking it isn't worth us doing, we really want to know, don't we?
Yeah, that would help us as well. So, so there we go. I think. So I have normal YouTube on my app, on my TV. Am I able to block it from my child, normal TV? Most apps you can actually download the kids one on my smart TV. If you can, so you can
definitely download kids YouTube on a smart TV, but you need another device to do the setup.
It's a bit like Discovery Plus. You need to log into a device first before you set up. They're all the same, aren't they? Just carry out. Someone just asked. I know Omegle was an issue a while back. It's still an issue now. Still going on.
Omegle is a huge issue at the moment in primary school.
Yeah, they all know it, don't they? Yeah.
If you're talking to anyone in year 5, they snigger and they know about it. For those who don't know, that's the adult cam chat site for people 18 plus, but kids from year 5 and above think it's hilarious. And when we ask kids how they know about it, it would appear that you've got a lot of the top YouTubers that kids like are always talking about Omegle. And if you let your kid go on TikTok, and in particular on TikTok Live, you've got a lot of people go live by linking up to the site called Omegle. And what they do with that is like you chat to strangers. So you get. Are you putting something up, John?
No, you're right.
But basically, how Omegle works is you go there and chat to strangers. So you come up on a video, and then above you is a random stranger. You either talk to the random stranger, or you press the button down the bottom and go on to the next one. And at any given time, you'll have about 30,000 strangers to scroll through, and about 8 out of 10 of them are going to be adult men with their willies out, to put it bluntly. And the kids are laughing at that, but what they're not realising is they're getting video captured in that sort of setup, and then there's whole websites out there in the world dedicated to these screen captures. So if your kid is mentioning Omegle, looking at Omegle, then you've got a problem that you need to jump on. There is no way on this earth that the kids should be on Omegle. If they're on it, then you want them off it. They will be seeing a huge amount of highly inappropriate content, and it is very much an issue at the minute. Yeah. You right over there, John?
Yeah,
Oh, look at your chair. Look, you've gone missing.
I've gone missing. I'm over here. Don't worry, I'm not far away. I'm just putting a slide up with the end because we've been on an hour now, so we are running to an hour. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions come in. It looks like we're not at the moment. There's no more questions coming in there at the moment. So I'm just going to put this slide up for the. I've gone missing. Yeah, I needed a hologram myself, didn't we? That should pop up on the screen in a second. So basically, what's on this slide? You've got the link to the actual week's, all the week's material, which is at the top. It will pop up in a second. I'll come back on and say goodbye. I won't say it'll come on.
There you go. Look at that. It's actually come up.
Yeah, there you go. So the top bit is a link on the website where you can actually see what's gone on for the whole week. And so all the podcasts are there. There's loads of great material there, including the recorded live session that was done in the middle of the week. I think that's what it was by now, but that one down there. Second one then is the survey. So again, if you do go onto the site, have a look at what's on there. If you'd like to see different stuff on there, more stuff, what you didn't think was useful, if it wasn't laid out. So we've tried to keep it like a life journey, if you like, from birth to teenage years. And then obviously on there as well, you've got our website and our Twitter address. If you want to look at our website, if you do go to our website, like John said, parent care area, great links in there. There's a bit in there how to turn the settings off on your camera so people can't geolocate your pictures, which is the first step we talk about in abuse. There's loads of stuff on there, but even back gaming, screen time, and all sorts, isn't there? Just have a look through it.
And if you're on Twitter, give us a look.
Yeah, please.
We've got 27,000 followers on Facebook, would you believe? But we've only got 2,000 on Twitter. We really want to change that. So if you're on Twitter, we would love you to give us a tweet.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, we were twits on Twitter. There you go, nothing new there. So, other than that, we are running out of questions. We hopefully will run this again soon.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of our term, if you like, as well as I know a lot of schools break up. Some broke up already this Friday, some next week.
Does that mean we're going to get a holiday?
We are going to get a holiday for a little while. We've got some different bits.
Does that mean I don't have to put up with it every day?
No, I'm still being there. We've got a few things coming up. We are looking at developing, just so you know, set on our webpage a parenting course, which you may find interesting. So again, if anyone can drop us a note on Facebook or a message, just say yes, you would be interested, so we know before we develop it. And it's basically going to be like four or five. It'd be like, I called it Open University for parents, if you like, but it's something you can do with your children. Look at different games, look at apps, and look at the whole internet in general to make it a better place for everyone. Even sort of setting up screen time, so you know you've got a proper contract in place in the house where there's no hidden agendas. That's the secret, no hidden agendas. So if it's 1 hour gaming time, it's 1 hour gaming time. It's not, can I play the Xbox? Yeah, off you go. And then at 40 minutes later, right, off you get. What? You got to set the agenda. So that's what we're looking at doing. There's lots of stuff in our summer coming up, even though we might be on holiday.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit.
And then we'll be back in September around schools and everything else. But as always, thank you for following us on Facebook, I think. Thank you for the Safeguarding Children's Board in Southend, Essex and Thurrock.
Well, they've been absolutely brilliant over the last year. We've done a lot of work with them. And if any of them are watching tonight, we really, really appreciate being invited to be involved in this campaign, which we quite strongly support. I hope that's quite obvious. So
one last little question. Can you view Snapchat history? Not really.
No. It disappears. Because if they've got anything to hide, they're definitely going to do it on a disappearing chat, which is frustrating. But
again, like you said, there's 14-year-old girls using it.
You wouldn't want to go down it anyway.
Yeah, but why would you? Yeah, at the end of the day, if that was their diary, and you had a diary, if you were 14 and your mum and dad said, "Can I read it?" Would you let them, or would you keep 2 diaries? So the more we try and police it, it's got to go back to trust and communication. Say to them, like, I don't want to read your message, but if someone comes on a bit strong, or if someone says something to you don't like, tell me about it, and I can say yes or no as an adult. So if someone says something to you, worst case, can you send me a picture of your boobs? Come and tell me about it. You don't have to put up with that, and we'll deal with it as mum and dad, mum, daughter, and whatever.
That's what I want to get without losing. Okay.
Yeah, that's the figure, isn't it?
But it has been absolutely fantastic talking to you guys. We really, really hope it's been worthwhile for you, and we do appreciate the fact that you could have been sitting in the garden.
They probably are.
Yeah, you're probably watching us with a beer, aren't you?
Yeah, we're stuck in a little hot office.
Not for much longer.
Not for much longer. So
thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight. As always, we really, really appreciate that many of you are following us. And we hope you have a fantastic summer.
Break, yeah.
And let's hope that things start to get better.
But we are around. If you've got any questions,
Yeah, always drop us a line on Facebook. It's really not a problem. We are very approachable. We don't bite, and we're more than happy to give advice that costs nothing. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.